Hello, hello. Welcome to the next edition of STATURDAY Chat Live here on May 7th, 2022. I hope you're all doing okay. It's good to see you. Those of you that are in the live stream, if you're rewatching this on YouTube, glad to have you in the rewatch as well. So, if you are new to the stream, let me get to my comments here. If you're new to the stream and stuff like that, just here's how it works. I go for about 30 minutes or so, longer if the conversation deems it necessary to go longer. Also, I don't always have answers to whatever questions you might have here in the moment because this is a live stream. I'm not a human Wikipedia, so I don't always have the answer necessarily. But I will write it down and maybe we can connect on LinkedIn or something like that. What do we got going on the channel and in life in general? So, of course, please put in the chat where you're watching from. I'd like to know where everyone is watching from. I do appreciate that. The channel. So, over the probably next weekend, I'm going to be doing some updates and changes on the channel and my website in particular because this is the next week, I guess during next week is the 10-year anniversary of me starting here on YouTube. So I'm going to use that time to make some updates, especially on my website. It's pretty awful. So I'm going to try to update some things on there. All the files that you can download will still be there and things like that, of course. But I think it's time to spruce it up a little bit, make it a little bit nicer, add some sort of content to that, and so on and so forth. So that's probably going to be my project next weekend, is to work a bit on the channel layout and, of course, on my website. So if you happen to be watching this live or you happen to watch it on replay and you go to my website like next weekend and it doesn't work for that moment, just keep in mind that it's because I'm probably making some updates to it so you can navigate it better and find things a little bit easier and stuff like that. So just keep that in mind. Also, I do want to reach out to everyone. This is like the end of the academic semester for many students and professors for that matter. And like next week is usually finals week or exam week. So if that applies to you or anyone you know, I want to give you sort of my best wishes and all my good energy and vibes towards you and encourage you to please take care of yourself, physically, emotionally, psychologically, get some rest, eat well, get some exercise. If this is a very intense time for you, whether you are studying for a final exam or writing a long final paper or grading, all of that if you're an instructor. So please take care of yourself this next week or so, this weekend and next, so you can once it's all over, just decompress a bit. So I know this is the final push of the spring semester. I also want to say preemptively, Happy Mother's Day. It's to all the mothers here in the U.S. I'm not sure if it's anywhere else, but tomorrow is Mother's Day. So if you are blessed, like I am, to have a great mom, and or are a great mom, or whatever. Not everyone has those situations. I understand, but if you are, I just wanted to say Happy Mother's Day to all the moms and, other moms in our lives that aren't necessarily maybe our moms. So happy Mother's Day. Also, on Monday, it's my dad's 65th birthday. So I want to wish a happy 65th birthday to my dad, who turns 65 on Monday, which obviously is a big, important number as it pertains to retirement and things like that, at least here in the U.S. So, happy birthday, Dad. I will see you soon, and we'll all get together at some point. All right. So, if you're studying for final exams or teaching final exams this weekend and next week, please take care of yourself and everyone else around you. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there tomorrow, and happy birthday, Dad, on Monday. So, it's good to see everybody. All right, so what do we got going on here? News updates. Hi, Brandon. Enjoyed your variable transformation videos. Thank you. You are very welcome. I have more to add to that playlist. I do have one video I've been promising for weeks now. It's actually been done. But the springtime is a very busy time for me and many other people just in life in general. So it's just hard to get to some of the stuff that is, extra when I have extra time. The biggest thing right now, obviously, is it's springtime here in the United States. And there's so much work to do outside that any sort of sunny day, I'm either mowing my lawn, which I have to mow the lawn every 4 days this time of year, We're doing all the outside work this time of year. So it's just a very, very busy time. In general, in my day job, it's a busy time. And for those of you who do not know, speaking of my parents, Mother's Day and my dad's birthday, so last St. Patrick's Day, our family home basically burned down. All that was left was the cinder blocks of the house. Basically, the outside wall was all that was really left. So last weekend, they were finally moving back into the house after over a year. So I went down and helped with some of that. And just glad they're alive. A few hours difference either way. My parents would have probably died. A horrible. There's no really good way to go, I guess, like that, but that's one of the worst, of course. So I'm just glad that they survived. They weren't home at the time the fire broke out. So been busy with helping them, with that in any way I can, and of course my own home, which I have to maintain by myself. It's just a very busy time, so you don't need to hear all my, me complaining about how busy I am. But yeah, so I'll get to the YouTube stuff, more videos when I have the time, and that's just, as you know, that's the way the YouTube works for me. It's not my full-time job. It's something I do when I have a little bit of extra time here or there. Right now, that is not the case. That's not the case. Plus, I have like 47 interests. I devour books. I have all kinds of interests I like to learn about. All right. So yes, more content coming. Can't promise you when it will be. Just depends on, again, my workload and schedule and just life in general. But I'm not going anywhere. All right. So hope you're well. Thank you. You're very, very welcome. Appreciate that. All right. So Brian asks, I'm working through probability distributions. What is a practical application of a binomial distribution? Many example use coin flips. Coin flips don't usually have business applications. Good question. So I think in the videos I did on the binomial distribution, I think the example I used were injuries in like a factory setting or something like that. It's been a while since I made that video. So just think of any situation, Brian. You can almost think of an outcome that is binary. Yes or no, true, false, or whatever. Certain events that are binary. So working with the binomial distribution, the probability of a success or a failure, that's all we're really looking at. It could be, people can use it in sports, because like in a sports setting, you either score or you don't score. It's a binary option, right? So basically, when we're looking at the binomial distribution, we look at the probability distributions for outcomes that have an either or like a Boolean type of outcome. So that's only one way to look at a problem. So there are many ways to look at any of those sort of problems. So anytime you can think of something that you can put in the context of a binary outcome, you could utilize, for exploratory data analysis, you could utilize binomial distribution. Okay? So, if you really wanted to sit and do like, the data collection, let's say I owned a small shop or like a small coffee shop or, or something else, and it's on like a sidewalk, right? And people walk by. So every person that walks by my front door of my store either doesn't enter the store or does enter the store. So we can work on probabilities that have some sort of Boolean outcome that way. We could look at whether or not a customer buys or adopts our product or doesn't. So, unless you go into a store and steal something, you either go in and buy something or you don't buy something. So there are different ways to look at a phenomena in the world. So as long as it has a binary outcome, a binomial situation, you can use the binomial distribution to look at that. So yeah, using of coin flips is just something that people can understand. But once we realize that any binary outcome, any sort of Boolean true, false outcome is essentially a coin flip, because it's the probability summed to 1, and it's either this or that exclusionary. It's really the same thing. So I hope that sort of makes, I hope that makes sense. A great place to start. It's only, 10 minutes in? I'm already rolling over here to my bookshelf. Crap. Okay. So, as you all know, many of you all know, so I work on the product team that publishes this book and the digital courseware and everything like that. Disclaimer, I work obviously for Cengage. However, I was using this book years and years and years and years before I even knew Cengage existed. It was just the book I chose to tutor from because I like how it's written. So for example, Brian, if I can give you another example. Here we go. Okay. So here's another example, just really fast. I'm not going to sit and read to everybody from a textbook. But, yeah, so here are some of the examples about binomial distribution that's in here. And this is a good place to find business applications, Brian, and everyone else, is because it's written in the context of business. So you can actually see how these are applied. And you can find this book, a previous edition, used, whatever else like that. Some of the examples used in this. How teenagers listen to music. So they have a sample, and then they ask them whether or not they use Pandora, because that's the binary outcome, right? Yes or no. Do they use it or not? Detecting missile attacks. Contributing to household income. So, suppose a random sample of 15, 18, and 34-year-olds living with their parents is selected and asked if they contribute to household expenses. Yes or no. So, there's a lot of applications you can find in, not only this book, but in other situations that are more business oriented. So, if you Brian, if you get like what we call a gen stat book, a general stat book, the business applications may not always be there. They might have other applications. But if you find like a good business textbook, like this one, the market leading book in the United States, by far, get this book, and you can see the business applications of those things. Okay. All right. Yeah, I could talk about this stuff all day, but Brian, if you have any other questions or comments, just put them there in the chat and I'll do my best to come back and answer them. But yeah, the binomial distribution can be very, very helpful in understanding those sort of binary outcomes based on, a sample proportion. Okay. Yep. So I'm glad to hear about your parents are safe and well. Yes. Sorry to hear about the house, though. Yeah, it was and again, obviously on this live stream and things, we don't have to talk always about statistics or data science or whatever. We can talk about life. But yeah, it was very scary. It was actually St. Patrick's Day last year, and I was dressed up for St. Patrick's Day for a work thing. And my brother called me. It said something about my cousin and a house fire. So I thought my cousin's house was on fire because they actually live the next street over. But they could see, but it was the opposite. Like they could see the back of our family home from their house, basically, and saw the smoke. And that's, in a way, that's how they caught it so fast, because they just happened to sort of see, through the house across from them and into our backyard, basically. And luckily, my parents had just left about an hour and a half ago or so, before the fire broke out. Had they been asleep when it broke out, a few hours difference could have been it could have been a disaster, obviously. But they are back in the house now. Obviously, the house, through the renovation or the rebuilding, has been upgraded. It's a 60-something-year-old house, so the house has been upgraded in many ways to bring it more, up to modern standards, and it's a well-built house. It's all the walls were there. So it's a very well built house. But yeah, it just fate, this the way fate just works. Luckily, both my parents, were not there. So it's very scary though, Of course, after that, I went overkill in my own house and I installed like 8 smoke detectors. I have a smoke detector like at every junction of everything in my house, but that's fine. A smoke detector costs like $10 and can literally save you and your life and everything around you. So, public service announcement, get and check your smoke detectors. All right. What else we got here? All right, Per Erickson, hello. Is it good data science? Is it good data science is gaining popularity, or are people maybe forgetting it's actually based on statistics? Great question. You see this debate all the time. I see it on LinkedIn all the time. Unfortunately, LinkedIn's becoming insufferable in many ways. It's basically Facebook in business casual. However, debates like this you will see, all the time. Whether or not a data scientist or someone who gets into machine learning or stuff like that, how much statistics they should know, kind of depends on the job they're doing. If they're just sort of part of this machine, this cog that just takes data that's given and either through programming or through some sort of point and click interface generates a machine learning model and the outputs and looks at if it's a classification sort of thing, looks at the confusion matrix and then reports out that, or if it's a regression type situation and they report the most important variables. Depending on their role, they may or may not need to know, in-depth statistics. However, I definitely feel, and I'm biased of course, that not having at least some background in statistics up through, say, like multiple regression and logistic regression is a huge mistake. Otherwise, you just don't know exactly what's going on. Statistics is also very important when it comes to exploratory data analysis, understanding the distribution and the characteristics of your data and variables. Because here's the thing, a lot of these machine learning algorithms, and I would obviously put just basic linear regression and logistic regression in there. A lot of these machine learning algorithms and classical statistical algorithms are very lenient in that they will accept garbage and work with the garbage data. And I mean garbage data as in like data that has a lot of missing values you didn't impute, or a lot of variables that have high levels of skewness either way, or have other some sort of non-normal distributions or whatever else. They are so lenient that they will take whatever data you throw into it and give you back an answer. So part of the philosophy of the variable transformation videos I've been trying to get across is that, yeah, a lot of these algorithms and tools will take whatever data you throw into them. It's like a big garbage disposal. And on the outcome, you might get something decent. However, if you understand basic statistics and you look at each variable and say, is there a way I can, transform this variable to make it work more optimally in the algorithm I'm using? Do I need to go in and base off, this variable are the ways I can go in and create other variables or different variables? Can I discretize variables? What else could I do? So understanding, just the basic fundamentals of statistics is very important, obviously, in my opinion. I think it's the difference between going from, I don't like rating people or, stuff like that. But if you're like on a scale of 0 to 10, not understanding basic statistics could get you to like a 6 out of 10 on the scale, but understanding basic statistics before you do these sorts of things can get you up to like an 8 or a 9 out of 10. because then you are able to go in and look at your data, optimize it, really make it nice and clean in the sense of well, like it's cleaning data, but also making it fit the assumptions of whatever technique or algorithm you're doing. Therefore, on the back end, your predictions are much better because you did sort of the tuning up front. So, so I would just say that understanding the basic statistics before going into data science or machine learning or whatever else is obviously very important. And to be quite honest, a lot of people come to my channel because they want to go into, not only mine, of course, StatQuest and my channel are two of the more popular ones, and there are others that do great work. Come to at least my channel because they want to get into data science and machine learning, but don't have the statistics background. So they kind of use my channel as that sort of supplementary material, which is great. It's fine, but it is necessary. So yes, it's. And last thing I'll add that popped in my mind here is that when you're reporting out the results of these sort of analysis to an end user that isn't into the weeds on all your data science concepts or your data engineering, of course, or whatever else, you have to be able to speak to them and relate to them at a level that they can understand. And if you have that basic understanding of statistics, and I would throw in the sub-branch of data visualization into that, it's much easier to communicate the results of your analysis because you have that fundamental basic understanding. And in general, I think there's a lack of focus on understanding basic conceptual things in all of these disciplines. People get so wrapped up, in my opinion, again, this is my opinion, people get so wrapped up in the coding and the algorithms and even sometimes the math in there, in these things, that we forget the underlying, like, fundamental concepts in all of them. And I really think, of course, as an educator, that's where I actually like to start. Let's have a basic conversation about what variability is. What is variance? It's obviously very important. If you don't understand what variance is, then how do you understand error? How do you understand when your output, your algorithm gives you a root mean square error, what the hell that even means? So that's my soapbox. It's a great question. It's a very common question. And, I obviously think it's important. Do you have to have like a bachelor's degree or master's degree in statistics to do these things? I don't think so. But understanding the basic fundamental concepts of statistics is very important in ways that aren't always apparent necessarily. So, all right. Great question. I love conversations like that. Looking to the comments here. Hope you all are doing great. Let me know where you're watching from. None of y'all did that. I want to know where you're watching from. Very important for me to know where I was watching from. That's like knowing. Let's see here. I'm not sure. Sorry to hear at the family house. Thank you very much. I'm glad everyone's okay. Thank you for the live stream and all the videos. I'm working with survey data from the USA, but the ICC of state is less than 0.05. How come? Can I still do general linear model stuff? Christina, I'm not sure the last half of that. So you might need to clarify. ICC, what you mean by ICC? It's probably something I should know, but I don't. So just clarify. Maybe I can answer that. Maybe we will have to connect off of the live stream, and maybe I can make some insight into that. On that note, I always say that I'm willing to answer questions like on LinkedIn or through email, whatever, if they are quick. But I'm not saying it's anybody here, and I know everyone means well, and no one's doing it on purpose. But I'll get these emails that are like pages long. Like here's stuff from my thesis or my final paper, or like here's like 3 homework questions, or there's no, there's one, some of that stuff I really shouldn't be doing. 2, I don't have the time to look over a 2 or 3 page email and go through it and look at all that. It's not that I don't want to, but of course I have other things in my life I have to do. I have to focus on what pays my bills and stuff like that. Maybe I'll offer a consulting option on my website or something like that to make it worth the while. But if you have a question, it has to be something I can look at and answer quickly without doing a bunch of research, because it's just, no, you wouldn't want someone doing that to you, not because they mean bad, or they're not trying to do anything, hurtful, but we have to respect each other's time in both directions. So if you have a question, it has to be something that I can answer pretty quickly, a few minutes basically, and I'll do my best. I can't always do it. So, all right, go back to the comments. So yeah, so if you have something that's quick that I can help with or answer, let me know. Other than that, maybe we'll have to arrange something differently. Okay. So would it be possible to make a video on the basics of key multivariate methods, factor analysis? Okay, MDS, conjoint analysis, get around to it, look forward to it. So probably at some point, Apijith, I hope I'm saying that correctly, Apijith. So again, if I don't say the names correctly, I do apologize. I do my best. But, so I definitely would like to do videos on FA, so factor analysis. Of course, PCA, I'd like to get to at some point. MDS. So I'm just writing this down. So, yes, basically I would love to do videos on these sorts of topics when I have time. I don't know exactly when that will be. But one of my favorite books I have on my shelf is a multivariate book. And Tabachnik, I think it is. Yeah. Where's that? There it is. Yeah. So I want to get to some of those topics in that book. It's just a matter of time. But yes, I would love to. I've seen that too many people throw around machine learning and DS jargon around to pull a fast one on those who are not well versed. The basics are weak, sometimes leading to disastrous results. Yeah, that can happen. Again, it's whenever we get new toys, it's easy to get focused on the toys and not the fun. And when we have, we love going into our Jupyter Notebook or Spider or R or whatever else we use, and write a bunch of fancy lines of code and algorithms, which are great, but it's just not having a full understanding of the basic concepts, which is the world I live in, So my role in my teaching has always been, my tutoring has always been, and of course on YouTube, is to really make students understand the basic concepts, the fundamental concepts of what's actually going on. So, really, I mean, it's there, I hear from people all the time, either on YouTube comments or whatever else, and they're very, very, very smart people, but who code or run machine learning algorithms, and then they get back either root mean square error or the confusion matrix, where they're trying to, to figure out the ratios, everything in there, and don't fully understand the fundamental concepts and ideas of what's actually going on. So that's kind of the realm I live in. That's where I like my thinking to be. So I agree. But again, I think it's a balance. I don't think you need to go, very deep into the weeds on some of this stuff. Just understanding the basic concepts that go in. Like if I do a basic regression analysis in Excel, and it gives me all this output. It gives me the summary table, it gives me the ANOVA table, it gives me the coefficients table. Someone could just look at that for a couple days and try to understand every piece of output. What is the R squared? What is the adjusted R squared? What is the F value? What is the P value? What do these coefficients mean? What does this interval mean for the coefficients? How do I interpret that? Just something that basic. If you can go in and really understand every little bit of the output, then you're far on your way. So, all right. Okay, I think this is a question that people are responding to, so let's talk about it. Actually, I want to take a drink. So Michael asks, is there an acceptable R squared value in regression? I've seen people get excited at 20% or 0.2, but that seems low. So I'm going to put up some other people's comments here because everyone responded in a way I probably would. So Per Erickson says, I think it maybe depends on the industry and area. True. In psychology, you might accept lower values due to human behavior. True. Okay. So that is definitely one facet of this question. It can depend on the industry or the type of study that you're doing, whether an acceptable R square value is a good thing or, quote, a bad thing. And I hate using words like good and bad because that's not really how we should look at these sorts of things. So when we're doing like a regression, we're looking at the overall model significance. That's the broad picture. Is the overall model significant? Meaning, does the regression model sort of gobble up a significant part of the sum of squares? That's the simplistic view. So whether or not a model is good or bad, it depends. It can also depend on your sample size, by the way. So, large sample sizes versus small ones can have a big effect on whether or not the overall model is significant. Then you can look at the individual variables within that model to tease out which one is explaining more the variance in the dependent variable than the other. So it just depends, on the context. And then, so Habajith says, my 2 cents on R squared. I've seen people who work on marketing survey data, which is usually noisy and messy, get excited with an R squared of, 0.4 or 0.3. So that's absolutely true too. So it also can be the case, of the type of variables you have in your model, the number of variables you have in your model. Of course, in general, the overall goal is to have a model that explains as much variation in our dependent variables or a classifier, whatever else. There's no variation classifier, but you know what I mean. So we want the model to explain as much variance, but the model overall to be as simple as possible. So explain variance, simple model, and that often means variables in the model that contribute uniquely to explaining the variance in the dependent variable. They don't overlap a whole lot. There's no collinearity. So it just really depends. But the R squared is just part of the output. You really want to look at the overall significance of the model. You want to look at whether or not, how each variable contributes to that, and then go from there. Okay. All right. How are we doing? We're doing good. So let's see where one's from. Christina's from Greece. That's amazing. Thank you for stopping by. I hope to make it there someday. Michael Robbins is in Missouri. I'm sure you hear this all the time, Michael, but I just finished Ozark last night. One of my favorite shows. Just finished the whole thing last night. But I'm not saying you're from the Ozarks, but Missouri, great. From India, fantastic. And Christina, I saw your follow-up. I'm going to have to write that down and maybe get back with you. So intercluster correlation and generalized linear mixed model, that's very more complex stuff that obviously would require some more research on my part. So I'm not sure in the live stream I can contribute a whole lot to that, but maybe we can connect off the live stream and I can do a little research maybe, but again, it has to be something I can do quickly. All right, so excellent from India. All right. Okay. So, Tanmay, hope I'm saying that correctly. So what type of analysis can we conduct on Likert scale? Is there any machine learning model we can use to understand what is user preference? So the thing about Likert scales is they kind of exist in this area where we can treat them in many ways. Okay, and here's the secret, is that oftentimes in analysis, Likert scales are treated as continuous variables. Now, whether that is the best way to do it or not, it's really somewhat subjective. So a lot of people take a Likert scale, 1 to 5, or maybe in like 1 to 10 or whatever else, and just use it as a continuous variable, and then you can use it that way. You can also use the Likert scale as an ordinal variable. So if you have the ability in your software to set it as an ordinal variable, which of course it is, you can do that. Another strategy is to discretize, I can't say that word, but to create discrete variables based on the Likert. So if it's like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, depending on your software and how you set it up, you can set it up as dummy variables. So, let's say something like, trying to think, on a scale of 1 to 5, rate your experience in the store today. Okay, 5 being the highest. That could be created as discrete variables. So you could have a variable that's experience underscore 5 or 5 underscore experience. If the respondent put a 5 for that, then they would get a 1 for that variable, or a 0 otherwise. Same thing for a 4, a 3, and a 2. Now, depending on your software and situation, for someone who put a 1 in that variable would just have zeros all across. They would have zeros in 5, zeros in the 4, zeros in the 3, zeros in the 2, and that would designate them as someone who put a 1 in that. You could do it that way. So there are multiple ways to handle Likert type data, and there's no real set rule, at least that I have seen. It just depends on the context and how you want the output sort of to look. But here's the reality. In most cases, it's treated as a continuous variable, even when maybe it doesn't make sense to. So obviously, a quick example. So obviously, when I was teaching at Indiana, I can't see it because the thing is on there. But when I was teaching, of course, and I'm sure you all have been in a similar situation, where you either give or get, if you're teaching, a teaching evaluation. And the students have to fill out like a bubble, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, based on certain criteria. When the report comes back, of how each student responded on the student evaluation, they'd literally they average them. Okay? It's like this average, like it's a continuous variable. So it might say, the average for this criteria on your student evaluation was 4.1 out of 5. Well, does that really meet the rules of Likert scales? Is a 2 twice as good as a 1? Is a 3 times as good as a 1? I mean, you really can't quantify those things. So, but they're treated that way. So it really just depends on the the situation you find yourself in, you can really, I've seen them used in all three ways. As continuous, I've seen them used as ordinal, and I've seen them used as discrete variables where each measure is put into its own variable. So, that's really up. And some of the times the software will do it for you. So JMP, JMP from SAS, when you build a regression model, it will often do that on the fly for you. And a lot of machine learning models have these sorts of things built into them as well. By the way, that's another thing that I should point out is that there's a lot, in my experience, when you call in some sort of machine learning model or whatever else, whether it's in Python, that's usually what people do nowadays. There's a lot going on under the hood in those algorithms that people don't always fully understand. Should you understand it? Maybe. Does it matter? I don't know. But variables are being transformed. Variables are being discretized in there. All kinds of things are going on in these algorithms that we should be aware of. And of course, when the output comes and we're like, what is that? That's probably why. So, all right. How are we doing? A few more minutes, probably. Yeah, so we're conducting a survey for our organization with 60 questions to understand whether they feel our organization is data transformation ready. Yeah, so honestly, in this sort of situation, what's the question here is what's the end result? So, so in my work, my day job, we do all kinds of surveys. We usually use Qualtrics for those sorts of surveys, and we ask questions like this all the time. The extent of the analysis we usually do is look at a bar chart. We see how many people responded 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, or what else, and we look at that. Sometimes we'll look at the average, of those questions for the respondents. Sometimes we'll do both. Sometimes we'll look for, correlations between certain things. But of course, if we're looking for correlations, then we're basically doing continuous variable analysis. So even within the same study like this, Tanmay, we can look at those variables in multiple different ways, just depending on what we want to learn. Now, we'll say if we're doing some sort of prediction or some other type of more advanced analysis, then that's a bit different. Because basically what I'm describing is basic exploratory data analysis. But if we're building some comprehensive model that's going into some sort of prediction or whatever else, then that's a whole different animal. Okay? So there's no easy answer to this sort of question the way we approach Likert data. It's one of those data types that really gets treated in the way, whatever way we need it to. We kind of torture it into the thing we need, for better or for worse. All right. Okay. Yep. So love all my viewers from India. I love you all so much. I hope you're all doing well. I know there's a big heat wave there now. Is that correct? Or am I reading something, getting something mixed in my mind? I thought there was either a really bad heat wave or a drought or something uncharacteristic that's happening. So if those things are affecting you, I hope you are okay. And I hope to visit you all in India very soon once I start traveling again. Okay. All right. Okay, so I'm going to look back in the comments here. So yeah, so if you have any last minute comments or questions about anything, now is the time, because I'll wrap up the live stream here in a few minutes. But if you just came in, partway into the stream, just to reiterate a few things that are coming up. So over the next couple of few weeks, I'm going to be doing some updates and changes to the YouTube channel, and most importantly, my website, because my website's really bad. It's functional, but it's ugly, and I need to spruce it up and make it a little bit more professional add a few more things on there that hopefully will be beneficial and just make it better. You know, anyone who knows me knows that I put function above aesthetics. So if something works and it's good enough, that's always been my sort of philosophy. But my website can really use some help, and I'm gonna spend some time within the next couple of weeks. I didn't want to do it now because this is the end of term for many people, and I didn't want to go into my website and have parts of it not working, and they're looking for files and all kinds of stuff during like finals time. That would be bad. So I'm gonna wait until later this coming weekend, and do those changes. I do have more ideas for videos. Again, it's just a matter of time. Once the springtime is over and we get more into summer, I actually have more time because I kid you not, this time of year, my grass grows an inch every 3 days. Like every 3 days, it puts an inch on it. So I have to cut my grass every like 4 days, depending on the weather. So once this initial spring time gets over and we get more into summer and the grass starts slowing down and everything around the house is kind of like done, then I tend to have more time to sit in the basement and do videos. But plus, like honestly, I'm going to be quite honest with you right now. YouTube right now is a very, very tough place because of the economic situation we find ourselves in the U.S. and in the world for that matter. Ad revenue on YouTube is like half. It's half what it usually would be this time of year. So usually the springtime is a big push for academic channels like mine. So right now, my ad revenue that's how I get paid for the channel is half what it usually would be. So I kind of have to focus on what literally pays the bills for now. But over the summer and stuff like that, I'll have more time to make some video content and some other type of ideas that I have going forward. So I'm not going anywhere. I just have to do it, as I can. Okay. Yeah, that's right. So a heat wave, but no drought. Yeah, it's heard as a pretty tough heat wave in India. So I hope you and all the people you care about and love are staying safe during that. It's actually been the opposite here where I live. It's been very weird in that this spring has been very cool, unseasonably cool, and fairly not. I think it's getting wet now, but it's just bizarre. But out west, it's it's a lot different. The drought is horrible out west United States, but when you fry and bake your planet into oblivion, weird things happen, unfortunately. So I'm hoping everything. Hope you are doing okay there. I really do. Have you learned about conjoint analysis? I have not gotten into that. I've seen it, of course, through my studies and reading and stuff like that, but I haven't gotten in depth in it. However, a couple of you had mentioned it, so I might look some more into that and see maybe we can do a quick video or something on that. So yes, we will see. All right, we're at 50 minutes. Okay, everybody. So I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the live stream. We've been at this for almost an hour. So yeah, if you need anything, the best place obviously to reach out to me is on LinkedIn, to be quite honest. And if you know anyone that's studying for their finals right now and they could use some help in statistics, obviously share my channel, other channels like StatQuest and other ones that also just do this to help, share those with people so they can get the help they need. That's why a lot of us do it. We just do it to help people. And I'm the different in that regard. So I'm going to wrap this up, but I hope you all have a great rest of your Saturday wherever you are in the world. And as of right now, we will be back on the live stream in 2 weeks, which is May 21st. And again, that'll between now and that live stream will mark the 10-year anniversary of me starting on YouTube. I might do something special, like maybe film a behind the scenes thing. Not do it live because I got to keep an eye on this when I'm live, but maybe film it ahead of time and then kind of play it, on the live stream or something like that to give you kind of a look at the behind the scenes, the way this stuff works, and just a little treat. So I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I wish you all the health and happiness in the days to come, and I will see you in a couple of weeks. So take care and happy learning. Bye-bye.